to another episode of the Above Average Joe Show. We are here today with an actor who has worked on several projects, including Your Pretty Face, Murder by Numbers, Anchorman 2, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and you may know him as the killer from Too Many Cooks. We are here with William Tokarsky. And as always, I am your host, Joe. Okay, I don't know if I would have that much power, but moving on. William, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, this is going to be fun. This is exciting.
Thank you.
I don't think we've actually sat down and had a long chat. I know we've talked on set for like a minute, 2 minutes, something like that, and then you get called to set, or I get called to set, or hair and makeup, or somebody brings in food, so we have to leave and get snacks.
But of course.
First question I want to start off with is, how did you get started, and what is your history in getting to where you've done all of these really famous, amazing roles?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I never planned on doing any of this. Both of my children are actors. My daughter was a thespian in high school, and my son is a stage actor, but it never occurred to me. I retired from a regular job and moved south of the city to Noonan, Georgia, and they were filming a lovely little movie there. It's called Get Low, with Robert Duvall and Bill Murray, and I'm a fan of these two guys. So I'm the looky-loo. I show up and I'm going to see Robert Duvall and Bill Murray. Well, little did I know, the van pulls up and in and out and gone, and you don't see anybody. But there were people working there as extras that were pedestrians walking up and down the street. And I struck a conversation with one or two of them, and I says, that sounds like fun. So I started doing it. The first thing I did was The Odd Life of Timothy Green.
Yes, that was actually a really good movie. I cried during that movie. There's a Disney, well, I guess a lot of Disney movies now make you cry, but what did you do in Odd Life?
I was a townsfolk. I was there for a week. I think I stayed in Holding for 4 of the 5 days, and then on the 5th day I was one of the people in the crowd with a lot of people that regulars that we all started working way back then. But yeah, and I enjoyed it and did it, and I started doing it. And then with you guys in CL, I was cast on Hunger Games Catching Fire.
Yeah.
And I signed up for 6 days. And the 5th day, I came back to Holding, got out my cell phone. You got to turn your cell phone off.
Yeah.
And I looked, and there was a message from one of the casting directors, Rose Locke, that said, you have a speaking line next week with Jennifer Lawrence if you want it.
If you want it.
First thing went through my mind is, who got hold of Rose's phone and is screwing with me by sending that message? But it was real. I had 6 little words. It was the scene where Liam Hemsworth, her boyfriend, was being whipped on the town square by one of the peacekeepers, and she comes breaking through the crowd. And when she broke through the crowd, I'm an old man standing there next to an old woman, another Atlanta actress, and I say the words, you want to get him killed? Well, it never made the final cut.
Aww.
It never showed. It didn't even make deleted scenes. But I just loved the treatment. I had a little trailer, like dressing room, and the production assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Tokarsky, we're having a pre-production breakfast meeting with the director, Woody and Jennifer, if you'd like to join us. Yeah, I'd like to join. I sat like a little mouse in the corner and didn't say a word. But I loved being a part of something like that. Now, later I got paid almost $2,400 for 2 days' work.
Wow.
And then since then, I've drawn over $6,000 in residuals for that scene that never showed.
Nice.
So I says, this is the way to go. I want to be an actor. So I ran out and went down to the SAG office and said, I want to join SAG. I want to be an actor. Well, Melissa Goodman, the executive director here in Atlanta, said to me, she says, Billy, she calls me Billy. She says, I'll take your money, but why don't you wait a while? Develop some work, get an agent, get some chops, and then come see me. And I did that. I started doing student films, free films. Just I made some really creepy stuff. Started doing free films and things like that, and gradually start working around. And I was fortunate through CL Casting through I was extras casting at the time, booked me on Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. And I started working that show and became friends with on that show. And these people just liked me and gave me some great opportunities.
Awesome. And speaking of Your Pretty Face, you are. I think you start as background on that and move into principal, or were you hired initially?
Season one had no money, and there were only 6 episodes. But the one of the creators, Casper Kelly, took a liking to me. I've got a face like a foot, and I actually opened the first scene of season one as a demon trying to open the door. And I started in season one as an extra, and then in season two they gave me some lines. CL's casting the extras, and it is the only union voucher in town. They pay a little more than most, but and it
union background voucher.
Union background voucher. Yes. And neat thing is, like, they pay you time and a half after 8, double time after 12. I mean, it's just a great deal. It's an old CW network agreement from AFTRA that they work under. But long story short, I got a lot of opportunities with them. Now I will still do background with them, and they will usually always give me 3 or 4 days each block as a principal actor with some dialogue, or Actually, I think my best work is when I don't talk.
I love actors that can do that. When you watch like Mr. Bean, or when Marcel Marceau, his old stuff, it's just amazing being able to watch somebody portray emotions without using any sort of audio cues at all. It just shows a different depth of acting, which is not something that everybody can do. And then one thing I want to ask you about too, working on Your Pretty Face, is all of the makeup that you have to go through. I noticed you came in and you don't have horns, so those are not real. Or you took them off just for this interview, I don't know. But how long do you sit in the chair, and what do they do? How do they attach the horns? Are they real horns? Are they fake horns? What are they made out of?
If you're not allergic to the glue that they use, they glue them on. They have some tricks if you have allergies. But they have a process that they do. Now, if I was going to sit and start to finish, it would take about 45 minutes for me to be done. But they run a production line because there's more than just me. There's Ben Bladden that we talked about earlier, and the principal actors as well, Henry and all of us. They work them in sections where we all go get our horns on first, and then we'll come through and they'll paint us background. We'll paint us basically red, and then Shane Morton, who does most of the special effects makeup, comes and details us individually. So it's a process where you're there for a couple of hours where everybody gets their horns, and you sit, you go drink coffee, you bullshit, and then you take your turn, come back, and he's got some great people that work with him. His life partner Madeline and Allison and there's a half a dozen different people that they'll bring in to work on the shows. So it's a production line, and it works well.
And then also with Shane and the group from Adult Swim, you also worked on a short for. I don't even know where they shot. I only saw it on YouTube. I don't know if it ever showed up on Adult Swim, but Too Many Cooks.
Too Many Cooks
that was a huge catapult.
was something that opens doors for me. Casper Kelly, one of the two people, Dave Willis is the other man who created Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. Adult Swim has at 4:30 in the morning something called infomercials, which are fake commercials, and they're funny. And at a social gathering one day, he approached one of the vice presidents, Mike Laszlo, and says, "Can you give me that budget to build something? I want to do something." And he talked him into it, and it was Too Many Cooks. So there was it was a non-union shoot. There was a whole crew of people that put that together. Casper, Paul Painter, Alex Orr, just a bunch of creatives, and they all worked together in sync. There was no real script for me. It was like, we're going to parody this. Here it is on the laptop. Now we're going to do this. So I would take verbal directions, which works well for me. I've been married for almost 50 years, so I have learned how to take direction well.
You can read people's minds at this point.
Pretty much. But long story short, we worked 3 days on that show, and I was the only one that worked all 3 days. And when I was done, I told Casper, I says, "Casper, this thing will die on the 4 a.m. time slot, or it will go viral. Nothing in between, one or the other." Well, it surprised me how fast it went viral. Paul Painter, one of the editors, who later I've done some creepy shorts with, Paul called me or hit me up on Facebook and says, "Have you seen YouTube?" And I said, "No, what's going on?" Someone Friday, it was October Halloween week. It showed 4 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 4 a.m. in the morning. Someone bootlegged it up to YouTube. By Monday morning, when they opened the offices at Adult Swim, it had 5 million views.
Holy crap.
They didn't know what to do with it. They did not know what to do. My son in California, who was in the Coast Guard at the time, someone shared it with him with no knowledge of the connection. Because I was never given an on-screen credit for the show, which was fun. It was really fun. But yeah, it went crazy. It went viral. And then people start taking it apart and finding out that I was really there in the first 20 seconds. They just didn't see me. So now...
Were you? I totally missed it too.
Yes. Yeah, first 28 seconds, I think. I'm there, standing behind the little girl.
I need to rewatch that.
And what it was is they start searching for me. I'm in an oil painting when the woman is killed. Yes,
wow.
when the cops pull over the little burglar, I'm in the background standing on a truck holding onto a mirror.
I don't know how I missed all of this.
I
saw you in the window.
Right. That's what drove it crazy, was they started looking for me. So here I've been working as an extra for about 4 or 5 years, and I've got some nice little features as an extra, and now people are finding me all over the damn internet. So it became a thing. So yeah, it was quite fun.
So it's like a Where's Waldo, but Where's William?
Right.
That is pretty amazing. And a quick question about that too is, you played the killer in Too Many Cooks.
Correct.
What did you do for preparing for it? Did you do anything for preparing for that, or did you just show up and kind of do what you were directed to do? Or were you thinking to yourself, okay, if I was a killer, how would I do this scene? Or, I hate to ask, since we're recording, did you go out and kill somebody to get in the mood? Or
I'm not like most people as far as acting goes. I show up and do what they ask me to do. Um, the actual choice of the killer, first couple of seasons on Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, I was usually partnered up with a gentleman by the name of V.C. Fuqua.
Yes.
And he's actually one of the. Yes.
I'm sorry.
He's actually he's gone. He's crossed the Rainbow Bridge. He is one of the actual chefs in Too Many Cooks. But Casper decided it was either going to be him or I, and asked us both to do a cell phone video of us reaching out and stabbing at somebody with a knife. And we did, and I was lucky I got picked. And
wow.
it just, But like I said, there was no prep. I showed up and he says, this is what we're going to do. I want you to stand here. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. Here's the show we're going to parody. Here's what I'd like you to do. And that's basically what I did. And it was successful. So I continue to do that. Obviously, if anyone knows me, they know, hey, this guy had a big, fun role in Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. And of course, all of us actors go out and we learn how to break down scripts and take people apart and whatever. I read that audition, and I'm reading to someone by the character was Melanie. Jack Black's character was.
Okay, yeah.
Nowhere in my sides did it say it was actually Jack Black. I am delivering these lines to a girl, because that's all they gave me. And they said, do this, and I did that. So I don't overthink things. I just follow my own natural instincts. And a lot of the stuff I do usually ends up on the first take.
Nice.
If I think about it too much, it's like I'm pretending instead of just being.
Acting. Yeah.
So I don't really act. I'm not a very good actor. I just go be myself. And that's why they're real performances.
Awesome. And along with that, while you were on the set of Jumanji, since you brought that up, while you were on set, Kevin Hart, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, came to you, asked you for a selfie, and then Instagrammed it.
It was actually Jack Black.
Or was it Jack Black?
It was Jack Black. Jack is a cool dude. Jack is also a Too Many Cooks fan.
Yes.
So we're setting in on-set holding with Karen Gillian and Jack and a couple of the other players, and I'm setting in holding, and one of the young high school girls, a day player, comes into holding, looks at me sitting in a corner, points at me and says, "Too Many Cooks." Jack jumped up and says, "Son of a bitch, I knew you from somewhere." Come over, put his arm around me, took a photograph together, and then put it up on Instagram, and it had like 12,000 likes immediately, and it was a lot of fun for me. But I'll tell you a little story. Every set I go on, I don't care where it's at, someone wants a selfie with the Too Many Cooks killer. I was in Savannah working on a project that we'll talk about later, but I had an off day in between. So, I knew a woman by the name of Cynthia Stilwell, who casts extras, and was casting a great show called The Act. I think it's going to be on one of the streaming networks. I'm not sure just which. My granddaughter went nuts when she found out. But long story short, I called her up. I said, "Hey, I got an off day." I said, "You got anything going where you can use me?" She says, "Yes." She says, "I'll tell you what." She says, "I got a Comic-Con scene where we're having people all dressed up, and you can be just a regular pedestrian coming in and trying to, So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 2 in the morning. And I'm standing in line, basically to buy a ticket to go to the Comic-Con. The director comes up and says, "I think I need somebody over here to look like security. Sir, would you come over here and stand and be like security?" I said, "Yes." And he says, "Oh, by the way, can I have a selfie with you?" It was Adam Arkin, the director.
Oh, wow.
And now we're friends on Facebook. But, I don't push this. I was hired as an extra, so I, just did my thing. But, yeah, it's like I run into people all the time. It might be the wardrobe guy, or it might be the assistant director, or even the director,
Or the cast.
or the cast. Yes, Jack Black. Someone wants a picture because it's starting to do less. The first year it came out, I would actually carry a plastic machete in the car with me. I would be at Quick Trip buying gas and go in and get a lottery ticket or something, and someone would say, "Excuse me, were you in Too Many Cooks?" And I would say, "Yes." And they say, "Would you take a selfie with me and my wife?" Now, when people stop me and they say, you look familiar. Are you? I said, "Do you watch porn?"
Have you had anybody say yes? To where it's like, that's where I know you.
Shane Morton said yes.
I knew somebody would.
Yes.
That's awesome. And I have to ask a side question, which I know you got to sit in, like you just said, with all of the cast in Jumanji. Nick Jonas was there.
Yes.
To me, he's one of the best looking guys that's out there. Are his eyes as sultry in person as they are when you see him in music videos or in photographs, to where he just has that look of, I'm hot, I'm sexy, and I know it?
He was a nice guy, but I don't think that people affect me like that. My granddaughter went nuts when she found out I was in a movie with him. But yeah, it's like, they're all regular folks.
Yeah.
Most of them are
They
very,
normally
very
are, but
nice.
his eyes, to me, for some reason, his eyes are just like, wow. Those are eyes. And I usually don't notice eyes that way.
That's probably why he's in these shows.
It is. That's why he's done really well for himself.
Yeah.
That's why he's got a great solo career now, too.
Yes. Where's the rest of the brothers?
Exactly.
I think
they're doing a reunion, I think, from what I heard.
But I think most of them are working in a post office up in East Jesus, Nebraska, is the last I heard. But no, they're
great guys.
They are. The whole industry is generally great guys.
Well, let's go ahead and take a break quick. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
This episode brought to you by Super Glue. For those all too frequent occasions when you can't afford to leave fingerprints, Super Glue can be at your fingertips and on your fingertips. Super Glue, the affordable way to stay anonymous.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. We are still sitting here talking with the wonderfully talented killer, William Tokarsky.
My friends call me Bill. My fans call me the killer. But my hardcore fans call me Creepy Uncle Bill.
I'm not sure which one I want to call you. I'll stick with William still.
There you go.
And let's see. I'm going to ask you just a few random questions and just kind of get your feedback on it. What are some of your favorite movies?
My favorite movie...
And why?
...is The Godfather.
Godfather.
It inspired me, the original movie, especially when I started doing extra work. I said to myself, I want to be immortal. You've seen The Godfather, right?
Yes.
You've seen where Vito gets shot. What's he doing right before he gets shot? He's buying some fruit from a fruit vendor. The guy's an extra. You see his face right now. I wanted to be that extra, selling fruit to The Godfather in an Academy Award-winning movie that would give me immortality. So my grandson, when he's 71 years old, can look at the screen to his grandson and says, "Hey, that's my pap." Well, be careful for what you wish for, because now when they're watching Too Many Cooks, he'll say, "You see that maniacal killer there?"
Or when they're watching Jumanji, it's like your dream came true.
It did.
And then you killed somebody immediately after, just like in The Godfather.
And I love it. People say, "Man, I don't want to be typecast." I want to be typecast. I want to be cast. When you're typecast, you're cast. I'm a 71-year-old man that has no real experience in acting. I've taken some classes. The fine folks at Drama Inc. over near the zoo in Atlanta have taught me how to look like I know what I'm doing. So, but I still don't have the ability to deliver emotions verbally like these well-trained actors do. But and my mind is gone. I mean, because of what I did in the '60s, I can't remember anything anymore. My short-term memory is totally gone. But somehow I found a little niche where I get 5 or 6 lines. Rations, get your rations. So yeah, it's fun and it's rewarding. It can be rewarding. The Jumanji, 99 seconds on the screen, paid me over $11,000.
Wow.
I was there for a week. It was very interesting. I'm hired for one day. I'm going to do the scene with the four of them there, and we go in and we film the scene from one angle. Now they're going to do the turnaround where they're going to film the opposite way. A tornado comes through.
Like a real tornado?
A real tornado. Everyone had to go into the building, down to the first level floor. We lost about 2 hours of production. We come back out. The assistant director says, "Hey, Bill, can you come back tomorrow?" And I'm thinking, yeah, another $1,000.
That's another paycheck.
Yeah. He says, "We rented a very expensive camera. The football games where they have the camera on cables that runs over the whole area, they had a cable camera like that in the bazaar."
Oh, wow.
Where they could just run everywhere they wanted. So they wanted to do that scene. They says, "Can you come back tomorrow?" And I says, "Yeah, I can come back tomorrow." Overnight, the director wrote another scene for me and Kevin Hart.
Wow.
I worked 2-3 more days on that scene. Now, just like normal, the scene never got used. But what it was when the four principals, Dwayne and Karen and Kevin and Jack, are running out of the bazaar. As they go running, I'm still there hawking my pound cake and bread, and they all go running past me. 1, 2, 3, and Kevin Hart's the last one. Picture the Three Stooges. And he comes running by, looks at me, stops, backs up, punches me out, and I go ass over teacups.
Aww.
And then he goes on. That was the scene that Jake wrote for us, and we filmed it in like another 2 days. But I got locked into second unit. Second unit's going to do all the stunts. I'm established, so they can either find a stuntman that looks like me and dressed like me, which you know yourself is
very difficult to find.
So they kept me around. I spent a week on the set.
Wow.
So yeah,
doing your own stunts too.
Right.
Did you get stunt pay for that, or did you get the actor pay for that?
I was so happy to be there. It really didn't matter. And there's not $100 difference between stunt and acting. So I really didn't do a stunt. I worked with a stuntman. I worked with Kevin. We did the scene. I was hoping that this sequel, that they would be back in the bazaar and maybe use that scene.
Yeah.
But a little birdie just told me that there's not going to be a bazaar in the sequel.
Aww.
So, and they didn't.
Well, that doesn't mean you can't come back somewhere else.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I am totally available, but I have not received a call yet about it. And the day players that are playing in Atlanta, the actors that are just there for a day or two, were just cast over the last week or two. So I don't think I'm going to get to work on it. But it's, if I die today, I will have exceeded my wildest expectations. So there's no sorrow on my part.
Yeah. No, it was awesome just to have that one
Yes.
part, and you were totally grateful just for that, which is wonderful.
But I will have something else. Something else will. I have no talent except for one thing, and that's the ability to attract talented filmmakers. I have a great little film on YouTube. It's a short. It's called 5 Windows. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Well, go to YouTube sometime and look at 5 Windows, Cooper Brothers. They were Too Many Cooks fans. twin brothers, Daniel and Adam Cooper. Mommy and Daddy are okay, money-wise. And they live in suburban Detroit. And there is a post-secondary school in Troy, Michigan called the Motion Picture Institute, which teaches high school students how to make films. And it is a full working studio. It's terrific. All right. And I forget the name of the gentleman that owns it. But his alumni, the kids that graduate, every year during spring break, or during Christmas break, the holiday break, he throws them the keys and tells them to make a film. They made two of them before mine and one of them after mine. But the kids flew me up to Michigan on Spirit Airline, which is the cheapest airline in the world.
That's the one I usually take. It's not as bad as everyone has said, for me at least, but
put me up in a hotel. I used to work for General Motors, so it ended up being the same hotel I used to go to when I went up there for General Motors. And I worked 2 14-hour days creating this little film. And the film was made in 2015. It got a lot of lookies, and they entered it in a film festival in Las Vegas called the AT&T Developer Summit, and the film won $10,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't see any of it.
Well, not necessarily, yeah.
But the
but
judges
it still won.
the judges were Vince Vaughn and Peter Billingsley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like, when I see Peter developing again, I'm going to say, hey, bud, you remember me?
And for those of you who may not know, Peter Billingsley is Little Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
You're going to shoot your eye out, kid.
Some people may not remember that name. Some people might be too young to remember that name because they haven't seen that movie.
He is a very good director right now.
He's a great director. I loved working with him when I had that chance. And one thing that you just mentioned that I had written down that I wanted to ask you about, you had mentioned going up to Michigan to work for GM. You used to work in robotics for GM. What did you do during that? Did you create robots?
No, I did not create. I am by trade, union trade, an electrician. But General Motors has manufacturing plants, the majority of them in Michigan, and they build cars today with robots. So in Michigan, the electricians that are there, instead of going to work, they go to the school for the company that manufactures the robots to learn how to program them and repair them. But for remote locations like a plant in Doraville, Georgia, or in Kansas City, or in Texas, they have something called the Train the Trainer program, where they take electricians that are knowledgeable and can bullshit. And they put them in some local, I went to UGA for some classes on teaching adults. And what we did is we taught and I had 250 electricians at the Doraville manufacturing plant. We taught and maintained, we taught programming and maintenance for those robots. I would create a robot cell lab, and there was 2 of us that did it. I did the second shift people, and my partner did first shift people. And usually when there was a big breakdown, they would involve us in it because they thought we knew something. But what we would do is we would learn more knowledge.
Nice.
So then I would have classes and refresher classes and train people. And that's what I did. I taught robotics. So it really sounds impressive. I say, I taught robotics for General Motors, you know. But yeah, I basically had a good time. It was a great job. I retired from General Motors in Doraville, Georgia. The plant closed in 2008. It is now totally demolished. I had a reunion there. I did a Georgia lottery commercial on the grounds of the demolished plant. It was a Mad Max kind of thing with the dune buggies. They in Georgia here they have a Georgia lottery Keno game. And the main character is a goat that breathes fire.
Yeah.
And I worked with the goat. It was fun. It was a great commercial.
Was it the original goat or the new goat? Because I knew while they had him that the first goat passed away. Do you know? Which
I
goat you had?
do not know that, but his stand-in was a statue. I'll tell you that right now. But yes, I was not aware of that, and I don't know where in the lineage I worked. But this was 2 years ago.
Okay, so this is the second one. That would
Yeah.
have been the second goat.
That was second goat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they don't live quite as long. And
Great people. Great. Had a good time. But yeah, return home back again. Big circle. Now here's the interesting thing. Here in Metro Atlanta, there is a new studio called Third Rail Studio.
Yep.
That's where my office was for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Third Rail Studio was originally a General Foods warehouse on the back of the property. General Motors in the 80s, when I got hired, expanded their paint shop and went back and wanted that parking lot in the back, so they got that building. Now they had this big empty warehouse, so that's where we set up our training.
Nice.
So it was great. So I had to get back to that studio, and I did. I went back for CL casting.
Okay.
For Dolly Parton Theater. Great little show, going to be out on Netflix, an anthology. Have you know about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. They take one of her songs, and there's a story written.
Yeah.
And the melody of the song is the score for the show, and she narrates. Well, don't tell my wife, but I've always been in love with Kathleen Turner ever since the movie Body Heat.
Yeah. And
I had a chance to work with her. And actually, I was just an extra on the show, but I was her eyeline.
Nice.
And it was a ball. But time and age has not done Catherine well.
Aww.
But she still has that sultry voice. But she's smart enough that she uses what she has. She played a character from the song Old Bones, where she's a fortune teller, a seer, an old frumpy woman with combat boots kind of thing. Great show. I'm really looking forward to that on Netflix.
It sounds great. I've heard a little bit about it, and I love all of the Dolly stuff that I worked on with Jamie at the time. And I know she's done some North stuff, which that is one of the projects that I'm really looking forward to seeing how that turned out too. Because even for her, it's one of her passion projects, just having that love for Dolly. That she loves doing the Dolly projects.
I met her too. It's just like, she's a sweet person. But the show has some money, so they did it right. And you know from your experience, multiple camera shoots. They were shooting for 3 cameras.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like, it was terrific.
And then while we're got on a little bit of a tangent talking about the GM stuff, I also wanted to ask you about your days working in the Navy.
I basically I used to share airspace with John McCain. I flew in the predecessor of the AWACS. We flew out of Da Nang, and I was a spook. We sort of like watched out for the people that were flying Rolling Thunder. We looked out for them with MiGs, and we looked out for them with SAM missile attacks. I wasn't working the day that John got shot down, but that's basically the role that I did. You would have stopped
that.
I don't know. Basically, we would provide warnings to let them know that they were active. I flew in a plane with 32 souls on board, and we would do figure eights just off the coast of North Vietnam, and we would listen to their voice traffic and listen to their electronic traffic, and we would develop theories of when they were going to do certain things, and we were able to warn. Plus, if a pilot did get shot down, they had better control of where he was at, so we could send search and rescue in to get him.
Interesting.
But it was interesting, yes.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Well, thank you for your service, at the very, very least. Thank you so much. Working with a lot of the soldiers and vets now on different projects, I know growing up my dad was a vet. He also served in the Vietnam War. He was in the Army. And to me it just, okay, you're in the Army. But now seeing them on set working on Valor, where we had to find real soldiers and they really had to march properly, and you can tell if they're not trained properly, if they haven't been doing it for 6 months. And I just gained a lot more respect working in the film industry for our soldiers and for our vets, which I don't know. For me, that seems a little bit backwards. Seems like I should have had a little bit more respect for them. But whatever it takes, I mean, thank you so much for everything that you've done. Thank you to all of our soldiers that might be listening for everything that you guys have done. Everybody that sits back here, us civilians, we should appreciate it more, I believe.
The film industry actually does respect, I guess is the word, because like you said, they were looking for veterans in your show. I did one for Rose called Thank You for Your Service.
Yeah.
And basically I was someone waiting in line in the VA, and everybody else sitting around me were all people that had actually been in that circumstances. Yeah, they try to be authentic, very authentic.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and take another quick break here, and we will be right back shortly. Stay tuned.
Are you tired of murdering with a quick knife to the throat? Chainsaws got you bored? Check out the all-new Tokarsky Torture Kit. You can also use it for barbecuing steaks next Memorial Day. Don't take our word for it, though. Here's the creator William to tell you what he first thought of his new torture kit. William, what was your first impression?
I'll just see how it works.
And now what do you think?
I can't do anything without this now.
And who would you consider to be the ideal user of the Tokarsky Torture Kit?
Someone that is just does it, doesn't know you personally.
Have you been able to experience the kit from both perspectives?
And I was forced into it at one point.
The Tokarsky Torture Kit, making a difference one life at a time. Some items of the kit may not be suitable for use by small children and most adults.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you again for tuning into our podcast. We are still here with the wonderfully talented William Tokarsky.
I don't know about the talented part.
Well, we are here with William, regardless. Regardless of what is debatable, what is not. I want to ask you another question that is not as film related, that I found out while I was Googling your name, checking out your IMDb, that you also have a history in wrestling. You were a professional wrestler for 6 years approximately?
Who is William Tokarsky? He is an Academy Award winning former wrestler that has won the Nobel Peace Prize, or at least according to his IMDb profile. IMDb is fun. I enjoy IMDb, and that, for you don't know, it's called the Internet Movie Database. And the Internet Movie Database is where somebody in England a long time ago created a database of facts about who was in what movie, when, and the details about it. And then Amazon bought it. And Amazon sells ads on it, and the ads are based upon the number of clicks. That's the cost for the ad. If you get a lot of clicks on your ad, we're going to charge you more. So they try to create something that people want to see. So in that, I can go into IMDb and put you in as a cast member on Jumanji, on Gone with the... I can add stuff like that. Anyone can do that. And if you looked at my IMDb profile, you went deeper and saw a second biography.
Yes.
That actually there's three of them. Three different people put different biographies in. The first one that's listed is actual mine, Righteous. But someone did that for fun. So why should I change it? But no, I never wrestled, had nothing to do with wrestling, but it is fun. What's interesting now is go to my Wikipedia page. And it's listed in my Wikipedia page because they got the reference from IMDb. So everything's not true. IMDb, I have a righteous resume where I have my acting work on it. But if you look at my IMDb, it's like, man, this guy's done a lot. Yeah, because I've done a lot of extra work where I was featured. But wait, you shouldn't put extra work on your IMDb profile. Well, are there any exceptions? No, there are no exceptions. Well, my role on Too Many Cooks was listed. I was hired as an extra. So I'm putting that on my IMDb profile. I'm putting that on my resume. My manager likes that on my resume. My agent likes that on my resume. It opens doors for me. So all I can say is IMDb gives a good representation of what you've done, but it is wide open for
Embellishment.
Yes. So, and I've done a lot of student films, which actually paid nothing. But there was some good stuff. Five Windows is a great. I think Five Windows is the best film I've ever done. Okay, it's terrific, and it's got a twist better than True Detective. All right, but and but it's like you do what you're proud of and put it on there. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
So, IMDb, wrestling.
So speaking of embellishing a little bit, this is sort of related. I am curious about the time you spent working on the Carbonaro Effect. This was a television show. It was on reality TV. I was watching it for a little bit. I stumbled upon an episode that one of my friends was on. And she goes in to this, I guess it's like a winery or a brewery.
It was a brewery. It was 33 over in Decatur.
Yeah. That is my friend that you were in the scene with, Stephanie.
We are friends now. And for me, I don't audition and book roles much. I mean, Jumanji was. But typically what happens to me is, and before I'm going to go down a rabbit hole, I did a great film called Tragedy Girls. It was filmed in Kentucky. But how I got that role is I did a really, really creepy film called Gwilliam. The only place you can see it's on Vimeo, and you got to pay $1.99 to see it, because Brian makes his money for his next film by selling views on his current film. But it's worth it. I have an affair with a goblin, sort of. Well, it was actually just kinky sex, but at any rate, long story short, this goofy film Gwilliam showed in Calgary Underground in front of a feature called Patchwork that a writer and director Chris Hill and Tyler McIntyre did. And later they're doing another film called Tragedy Girls with Craig Robinson, Brienne Hildeberg, Alexandria Shripp. Who am I leaving out? Josh Hutcherson.
Yes.
Right. So what occurs is a former casting assistant for CL is up in Kentucky doing background for this film, working for Bill Marinella, and they say, we need to hire a creepy janitor. He pulls up my IMDb page, slides it over. The writer and director look and say, we know him. Book him. Airplane ticket to Kentucky for a week's work. No audition. So it's that kind of thing that gets me work. Now, where did we start before I went down this hole?
I was talking about Carbonaro Effect.
Yeah, Carbonaro. So there's something in Atlanta called Atlanta Film Chat, a podcast just like this. And a lovely young lady by the name of Molly Coffey, who did all the props on Too Many Cooks, says, hey, Billy, how about being on our podcast? Terrific. I did the podcast, had a good time. She's working as the set designer on Carbonaro Effect. Okay, they have their production meeting. They're looking and saying, we need an old guy to play a ghost in the brewery, sort of a creepy-looking guy. Molly calls it up on IMDb, slides it across. Michael Carbonaro says, do you think we can get him? And she says, yeah, I think you can get him, because we're friends. So yeah, I had a day on that, and it was a great show.
I enjoyed it. I loved the show.
The Carbonaro show is for real. All the people, the marks, were hired through a temp agency to work, to make, the case of the beer that they were brewing came in 4 4-packs, so they had to unfold the cardboard and put it together in a box and put it on the line. Sort of a mindless job. So they hired these people, and they're doing this, and Michael Carbonaro comes in and gives them the line that they're I'll tell the story that they're going to make this thing that they hadn't made for 40 years, that the old man whose poster's up on the wall behind them shows this makes this brew that you could pass a DUI with because it's an hallucinogenic, not alcohol. Did you taste some? And he pours them each a glass, and they drink some. And then Michael goes off stage, and there's a noise in the corner of the
room,
of the warehouse, I guess, yeah. And a trap door opens up, and this old man that looks exactly like the poster, myself, comes out, walks over, looks at your Stephanie in the eye, takes the beer, drinks it, puts it back down. No, I didn't put it. I walked off with it. Michael comes back later and palms a glass back down and picks up the bottle and says, "The bottle's empty. Did you drink all of that?" She says, "No, the old man did." "What old man?" kind of deal. And she had the revelation that, she saw.
You mean Eugene Barber?
Yes.
The guy on the wall?
Exactly. And here's the Easter egg. Eugene Barber, the name is a famous magician who Michael Carbonaro idolized. Things are full of Easter eggs. Yes.
I like that.
My favorite Easter egg is that movie Tragedy Girls. I'm a janitor. I'm walking through the hall whistling of the high school. I'm whistling the theme song from Too Many Cooks. But anyway, Carbonaro
Did
Effect.
they ask you for that, or is that just something you did?
I did that.
That's awesome.
But I told the director I was going to do it. And I says, they won't come after you because they love me.
Yeah.
So, but Carbonaro, we had 3 marks that day. We had a kid that was a stoner. I mean, nothing. No reaction whatsoever. I mean, he just went right on, continuing to fold his stuff.
It seems like it might have been a normal day for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Then another young lady who was good, but Stephanie killed it. I mean,
yeah.
But it was all real. It was not fake. It's, And the neat thing was, they're hidden fixed cameras.
Yeah.
I am walking around and I got a bug in my ear. I can hear the director talking to me, and he'll move me to put me in script. Tell me to move left, move right, move forward, or okay, take. In other words, yeah, I'm taking direction in my ear. Boy, I could use that for dialogue.
They do that on some movies.
Yes.
I won't give away those trade secrets because I don't know if the directors want their trade secrets given away, but there are movies that I have worked on where the entire cast will have earpieces in, and the director's just, here's an idea. If you want to go with it, go with it. If you don't, don't. But it's up to you as the actor. Do you want to take that choice? Which those have been some of the most hilarious sets to work on because you never know what's going to happen. And it's not the directors telling them, hey, move to the left, move to the right. It's like, say this line instead, and nobody's expecting it. And then you start seeing the cast trying not to crack up because they're not expecting it either.
Hardest job I ever did was for Jamie on Anchorman 2. I was a taxi driver with Will Ferrell in the back and Megan Good, and the two of them. First 2, 3 takes were all on book, the actual lines in the script. And then Adam McKay, the director, who just did my favorite new movie, Vice. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the
But
makeup
anyway,
on that was great. I love the makeup. But I love special effects makeup.
Yes.
So seeing everybody transform into those characters for me was phenomenal. But keep going. I'm sorry.
But anyway, so they're cracking up. Will Ferrell and Adam McKay are trading jokes back and forth and just all kind of crap. And I got to look deadpan like I'm driving in the road, But it was a fun day. But that was an extra role. Someone added that to IMDb with my name as an actor in it. I don't know whether it was production or whether it was just some person like you and me. When I started doing student films, one of the deals was I was going to be the guy that did all the IMDb work. It's tricky to put the stuff in the way it's done to follow their format. I have become a trusted submitter, so my stuff usually always gets taken.
Yeah.
They've sent me an email saying you are trusted submitter status now. So yeah, so I can, like I say, I can put you on Gone with the Wind.
That's awesome.
We interrupt this podcast for a quick test. This is only a test. If this had been an actual emergency like a Sharknado, a tsunami meerkat, or a routine feline uprising, the attention signal you just heard would have not been played on a podcast, but on a real TV or a real radio show. This concludes the test of the immature broadcast system. Now, back to the program.
And one thing I also wanted to ask you about, working on The Walking Dead, you worked in Woodbury, and I know that Woodbury had a really close-knit group of friends. One of my friends, Mary Kranz, you've worked with. You've also worked with Debbie Kimsey.
Oh, yes.
Just the whole group of Sherry Billings.
Yes, Sherry was a group leader.
Yeah. You guys still have reunions, even though Woodbury has been 7 years ago, or 7 seasons ago.
Every so often, we'll get together and have lunch in Sanoa, Georgia, which was Woodbury. And it's usually at a restaurant called Nick and Norm's, which is Greg Nicodero, who does all the special effects, and Norman Reedus, who is Daryl on The Walking Dead. But yeah, and we'll get together. We had a young man from England come visit, who runs a website called Walking Dead Wiki, which has all kind of information on everybody, whether you're an extra, a principal, whatever. And he come and wanted to meet, so we actually invited him to one of our reunions and had a good old time. But yeah, The Walking Dead, it's like a fraternity of people that worked on it. It's what we're in the 8th season now?
I think 9 just came out.
9th, yeah. It's a fraternity of people. I mean, it's like, the only thing I regret is I can never go back as a principal actor because they've seen my face too much as one of the guards in Woodbury, which, I just enjoyed the daylights out of that. I live in the same county where they shoot that, so it was a prize as an extra. So when I used to work on that show, I would go hide. I would be the guy far away walking on top the bus in the back shot, because they're going to bring me back. If you generally, on a show like that, if you get too much face time, they won't use you. So yeah, it was fun. It was enjoyable.
Nice. And I've noticed that on Walking Dead, that almost every season, or coupled of seasons, that the groups that work together always become families.
Yeah.
Woodbury's done it. All of the walkers that worked in the first couple seasons become a family. All of the saviors now have that bond of working together. And it's not just Walking Dead that does that, but it's anytime you have a core group on a film or a project or a TV show where you guys are spending months together, sometimes years together on set.
You get to know each other.
And you become family, literally family, because you spend so much time together and getting to know them. And when you lose one of those people, it's tough. Especially in Walking Dead when you don't know who's going to die. And then all of a sudden, the next day, it's like, oh no, we had to kill off half of your friends.
And The Walking Dead will film phony scenes. Wow. In other words, for season 3, they had a couple of alternate endings that you didn't know which one was actually going to be used. So yeah.
And season 3 was the prison, right?
Yes. The prison.
And you were killed right around that time, weren't you?
Season 3...
Sort of?
Yeah, Season 3's finale, we were told, was being filmed for a 2-hour season finale, which really made sense.
Yeah.
But they've never done that. But, so we filmed raiding the prison. The guards and the people at Woodbury decided to raid the prison. So we got in the back of an old deuce and a half, and we come down and we unloaded and we raided. And we went inside the tombs of the prison. and the actual scene wasn't a whole lot that was actually used because they cut it. But what they did for me, I got a hero bump. The hero bump is when you die on screen. It's an extra $50. It's an extra. But what they did for me was they had me going through the tombs, the catacombs, and when the tear gas was thrown, I pulled a bandana up over my mouth so I could function. And I'm working through the corridors, and I come to a T in the corridor, and I lean forward and I look, and there is Rick with his back to me. So suddenly I became left-handed, and I reached into my holster on the left side, pulled out a Glock, leaned and drew down on him, stringing barbed wire across the passageway to create a trap as they herd people through. And as I drew down gradually, putting him in my sights, so we're talking 3 camera angles, like one over my angle looking right down the sights, and all of a sudden a sword comes penetrating up through the middle of my chest.
Ooh.
And the sword's withdrawn. I fall to the ground, and there is a figure in a gas mask. And that figure puts the sword into my head, like to keep me from being a zombie.
Yeah.
And then she leans back with all her style and pulls the gas mask off, and there's Michonne.
Ooh.
Such a great scene.
That you never saw.
You'll never see it. Yeah. If I ever become famous, and I almost did, Kevin Hart was supposed to host the Oscars, and it was my plan to interact with him in a cameo, yelling, "Rations, get your rations." But he backed out of it, so
Yeah.
I never got on the Oscars.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, next time you'll be the winner of an Oscar. Next time you're on it. Hopefully.
That may or may not be true. Actors tend to embellish.
Who are some actors you would love to work with that you have not worked with yet?
The only one person I want to work with is Jack Nicholson.
Nice.
And you said there's nobody that could look like me?
I could see you as brothers.
Jack does.
Not necessarily twins.
And I just happen to be the same height as him, and I will adjust my weight as him. So every time I met someone that ran a casting service for extras, I told them, if Nicholson ever works in this town, I want to be his stand-in. And most of them said, yeah, we'll do that. And he was supposed to do a movie called Tony Erdelman, which is a German film that won foreign language, I think, at the Academy. And it was a project that he liked, but last I heard, he backed out of it. So I don't know. But yeah, I love Jack. I mean, that's and it's just, I mean, I've worked with some great people. I've worked with Anthony Hopkins and everybody that was on Jumanji. And I mean, it's just like I enjoy them. But Jack's the only person that I really, really would want to sit and smile with.
That's a great choice, too.
Yeah.
He just seems like a really great guy. Tons of stories, I would imagine.
His best quote for me is, "Beer, the best damn drink in the world." I try to maintain that image. And by the way, if anyone's running a brewery, I'm interested in doing a beer commercial. I really think I could sell it.
And then also you've got a project, Florida Girls.
Yes. Like I said earlier, I rarely audition and get a role. I'm a regular on a TV show on Adult Swim called Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. And I got that role by being an extra on the show and not being an asshole. So, they moved me up and I'm having fun with it. I'm actually starting to get residuals off the show now.
Oh, nice.
That's the mailbox money is amazing. My son is a SCAD student. He's retired military. He's a SCAD student down in Savannah. so I have a place to stay. I went down to Savannah and worked as an extra on something called Tropical Cocktails.
Yeah.
And I did the pilot, which I think I really enjoyed and did a good job for them. And I met the woman that was casting extras down there. And I heard that she was doing a project called The Poison Rose, and it was originally trying to sign an actor I wanted to go see. But so I sent her a message and said, I'd love to go do this show. And she says, okay, the guy was supposed to run an insane asylum, and I like playing crazy because I really don't have to work hard at it. But anyway, so Lynn Lagman was the woman's name, and we became good friends. Her husband's in the military, and she's now in Australia. But at any rate, Florida Girls is a great little TV show that she was going to cast the extras on. And it had a limited budget, and it had a story of 4 girls in 1990s, early 2000 Clearwater, Florida, growing up amongst drugs and poverty. It's a comedy. And the lead is a biracial girl. And she, in the story, she has a black mother and a white stepfather. And the white stepfather is a silent, derelict alcoholic.
Oh, wow.
So the line producer didn't want to hire a SAG actor for it, so talked to Lynn about finding someone that could play that role. And Lynn says, do you want to come to Savannah for $200 a day and do a little extra work? I think you might be able to develop this into a role. So I says, yeah, I went down and did it. The first scene my wife, by the way, is Kim Whitley, the black female comedian.
Yeah.
She's fun. But long story short, my wife wants to sober me up for a job interview, so she hides all my clothes and shoes. So later in the episode, my stepdaughter's driving down the road, and me, Chuck, is wearing a pair of women's sweatpants and pink high-heel pumps and walking to the liquor store, stumbling to the liquor store. And my daughter, Laura, comes and says, get in a car, Chuck. And that's the very first scene. I have a problem with alcohol in this show. I don't know why they'd want to cast me for that.
You don't have a problem in real life. You have a solution with it.
Right. I mean, people say I have a drinking problem. And the only time I have a drinking problem is when I don't have a drink. But later, with all the booze being hidden in the house, I get hold of some rubbing alcohol and drink rubbing alcohol.
Oh.
Well, that will almost kill you, and I had to go to the hospital. I'm in the hospital wearing my gown, my bare-ass gown, and I escaped from the hospital. And now they're searching for me everywhere. And they find me at the marina. And I'm at the boat ramp where there is one of the blue garbage cans, and I'm going through beer cans, trying to get the bottom drops out of beer. And my wife and them pull up and tell me to get in the damn car, and I run from them. I run down the ramp into the ocean and swim away into the sunset.
Oh.
So it's a funny show. It really is. It's got some great people. It's supposed to be out in April, and it will be on the Pop Network. The Pop Network is where Schitt's Creek is right now.
Okay, yeah.
And if it's successful, which I think it will be, it will probably stream on Hulu. Now, I was just an extra, but if it's successful, I told them I'll come back next year as a principal. So, love to have another recurring role on it.
Let's go ahead and take another break quick, and we will be right back after these messages. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the William Tokarsky Show. Our guest is William Tokarsky here on the Above Average Joe Show, and I have a question for you. Hopefully it's not too sensitive of a question. I know how some people can be and how private their past lives can be. But tell me about your experience working in pornos.
Uh, Porno. Well, I the closest I ever came to doing porno.
Closest I ever came.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you noticed that. The closest I ever came to actually doing porno was when I first met Burt Reynolds. Um, I was able to work on the scene on the movie set. What I think is Burt's best film. I worked with him in something called Hamlin Hutch also, but I worked with him on Boogie Nights. I actually, what I did is I was Mark Wahlberg's body double for the very last scene of Boogie Nights. That's the closest I ever came to doing porno.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're very gifted. Your mom might not know it, but you're gifted.
Thank you.
And you also worked on, seriously, you've worked on Swamp Murders and Homicide Hunter. How was it working on those projects?
Crime reenactment shows are probably one of the best training ground for new actors. Knoxville, Tennessee, which is not far from Atlanta, has a company called Jupiter Entertainment Productions, and they make about 15 different crime shows. Homicide Hunter, Lieutenant Joe Kinda was the first one I worked on up there. And basically what it is to get the role, you have to look something like the character that you're reenacting, because there's usually some real live footage of the person. So, and they're very nice people. They work with you. Instead of handing you a real script where you have to remember the dialogue, they give you suggested dialogue and say, this is what we want you to say, but say it in your own words. And it works great for most people. The good side is that if you screw up and you can't deliver dialogue, they just voice over with a narrator. In fact, they have some shows up there on Oxygen, like Snapped and Snapped Killer Couples, where it's all just pantomiming, and the female narrator tells the story while you reenact it out. I've done those. So they're just great shows to learn how to get on camera, get on eye lines and deliver and do, and you get footage to get started working as a real actor. The company up there is called Jupiter Entertainment Casting. They have a Facebook page for non-essential roles, which are like guys in a bar drinking, or pedestrians or things like that. And they cast their regular actors on Actors Access, which is a free service. Mm-hmm. And they pay like $100 to $150 a day, and they put you up in a nice hotel. They put you up in a comfort inn with indoor swimming pool and hot tub, and it's very nice, very good. There's a second company up there called Lucid Productions, Lusid, that's two disgruntled former Jupiter employees started their own company. They've got a couple of shows called Murder Came to Town and Murder by the Numbers. They pay a little more. They pay maybe $300 a day, something like that. Nice. But they tend to use established people that have worked that genre before. Now, here in Atlanta, there is a production house called Crazy Legs Productions. And Crazy Legs does the same thing. They do Swamp Murders, Dead Silent, Your Worst Nightmare, and I've worked most of those. And they pay maybe $400 a day for leads, $250 for supporters, people are just going to show up. But it's good work. They have a great casting director, a woman by the name of Jessica Fox, big fan of Fox Casting. She's married to the owner of Crazy Legs. And so it's just a great little family to get into. The neat thing is once you work one show and you're half-assed decent, they'll bring you back for other shows.
Nice.
So it's just, and just recently, I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA. These are non-union productions, but I can work them because they aren't represented by SAG-AFTRA. Just like background work in Atlanta and Georgia, I can work background work because they do not represent background actors. Now, they don't encourage you to do it, but a lot of people have bills to pay, and a lot of people like me that are trying to transition from doing extra work into being a principal actor, just great training ground.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead and take that break, and when we come back, we are going to do a cold read together. I have a script that I wrote specifically for you that can only be done by you, done by us, you and anybody else. I can be replaced easily in the script, but we'll be back right after this break. Stay tuned.
This episode brought to you by... I got nothing. Nothing. Back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to the Above Average Joe Show. We are still here with William Tokarsky, and as promised, we are about to do a cold read. For those of you that may not know what a cold read is, it means that I have a script in my hands that William has not read, has not seen, really knows very little about it. I told him that I wrote it, and I told him that it was written for him. So I'm about to hand him the script, and we will start reading. He will be reading the character of Edmonds, and I will be reading for everybody else. In our last episode, a local citizen has been reported as missing. There are several persons of interest that have been taken in for questioning. Officer Ossifer is leading the latest interrogation. We've been keeping a close eye on you. Did you know that?
Is that so?
That is so.
So?
So that is so. Tell me, Mr. Edmonds, have you ever seen this man?
He looks like a lot of people.
Does the name Franklin ring a bell?
Not particularly.
Do you get a lot of people coming into your shop?
Of course. I mean, I'm the best cook this side of the Jaguar statue.
Is that so?
It is so.
So that makes you innocent?
Sure. I mean, that works for me.
Not so fast, Edmonds.
Yes, Officer Ossifer?
How many people work with you in that shop?
A few cooks. No, wait. Several. One might even say there are too many cooks. Let me see. There's Darren and Claire, Chloe, Savannah, little Alex, Stanislav, and Ashley just started. I mean, and there's the gals Linda and Louise. Jebediah, he turns our fresh maybe date butter. Laura and Ralph. McGillicuddy, too, yeah. Oh, Poppy? No, wait, there was no Poppy. Let me think. Yeah, she disappears right before our new Black Seed Bagels came out.
Black Seed Bagels?
Oh, it's one of our best sellers. Black Seed Bagel with a little pimento cream cheese.
Oh, wow, that does sound good.
Well, I'm not even done yet. And add a drizzle of honey.
Ah, yum, that sounds delicious.
And just a small splash of orange juice.
Oh, hey, enough of this. Where is Franklin Finbar?
Okay, I mean, that name does ring a bell.
The man in this photo is Franklin Finbar. He was last seen in your shop buying cake, and then, poof, he disappeared into thin air according to several witnesses.
Ah, that guy, huh? Well, he came back several seconds later.
Captain Simmer, check the footage!
I also remember, he had a tattoo on his arm. It was 3 bars before my famous pound cake. But when he came back, it was only 2. Weirdest thing, I think his cake allergies caused his tattoo to disappear. I was going to ask, but I got distracted by his friend. Ruby, I think her name was.
What's that? Okay, I guess Simmers says your Carbonaro story checks out. You're free to go, Mr. Edmonds.
Well, now that's good news. Well, if I don't see you sooner than later, maybe I'll see your pretty face going to hell.
And cutscene!
Thank you. That was lovely.
I liked it. I thought it was cute. It combines all of your characters together.
Can I keep this?
You can definitely keep that.
Thank you.
And for anybody that was curious, all the names that were listed in the middle of that script were taken from the IMDb of Too Many Cooks, so those are the real names of the cooks.
The greatest thing about that names of the cooks was all of them had their name under them, so you could recognize them, except for me.
Yep.
So everybody said, "Who is that asshole?" So they had to go to IMDb and look me up. And when they looked me up, my IMDb score, the lower the number, the better, for that week was 1,600. So now IMDb has this cute little thing called IMDb Pro Card, where it shows your card, what you do, and your best score. And it looks like I'm a real actor. But actually, all IMDb is a measure of popularity.
Yeah.
You know, and IMDb star meter ratings are garbage. I mean, ask anybody with poor ratings, they'll tell you that.
I can agree with that then. My ratings aren't very high either. Not as high as they should be, at least, in my opinion. In my fan base opinion.
Well, I've always been a fan.
Thank you. I've been a fan of yours too.
Thank you so much.
Well, we are going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you, William, for being here. Thank you for chatting with us and giving us some inside information on everything.
It's my pleasure. And what I'm going to ask your listeners to do, if they're really curious about me, to go to Internet Movie Database, imdb.com, and there's images there. And if you look at the very first image there, it's a photo of me in a pink bra. Truth.
That is something everybody is going to be looking forward to. So listeners out there, go ahead and check out William and his pink bra on IMDb. We will have more episodes coming up shortly. And stay tuned, because we have a lot of wonderful, very talented people that will also be on this podcast coming up. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you again to our special guest, William Tokarsky. A special shout out thanks to Addison and Jamie Lynn for all of their assistance on this episode. And the Above Average Joe Show was written and produced by me. The theme song was composed and arranged by yours truly. Be sure to check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitters. You can also check out another podcast I co-host, The Extraordinary, and other great media content by Moon Possum Productions at moonpossum.com. And if you'd like to show your support through a donation, you can go to aajoeshow.com. All proceeds will go to help support the creation of more great episodes just like this one.